What up, YouTube? It's your big homie AP. This is a video I spoke about, doing, so I'm gonna do it, okay? So I have some notes. I'm gonna get through this as quick as possible. This video is about communication, but mainly about, the problems that people have in communicating, and then we'll deal with how to fix them. Or maybe I, bring up the issue and then we'll deal with it piece by piece, bullet by bullet. You dig? So, without further ado, okay. Some of the barriers of effective communication. That's how we're going to start this. The use of symbols or words that have different meanings. Okay. Slang. Language barriers. Things of this nature, right? Vague terms. People say things sometime in communication or communicating with somebody of a different culture, a different age, and you think you having a decent conversation. You think they understand everything you're saying, but it might be one word that's throwing off the whole message. That one word that they misunderstood made them not understand the context of the rest of the words being used. So if I'm speaking to somebody who isn't my age, who hasn't, doesn't have the same slang or vernacular I have, and I'm thinking I'm making a lot of sense, and maybe somebody in my same age that grew up the same way will understand every fucking word I said. But talking to someone who was raised different, from a different culture even, they're missing shit. So this is going to be an issue later when we try to come to an understanding, because we're missing each other. Just simple words. You can't speak over the head of the person you're talking to. So some of the slang words, if you're talking to somebody who ain't hip to the same words, same thing with your children. You talking to your children, they're saying things that you taking as full disrespect, but that's how I'm not saying allow it, but that's how their peers speak. That's how what they think is normal conversation at this point. When they try to do it with you as a parent, you hearing it how you heard it 20, 30 years ago, and you ready to snatch their head off, So use of symbols and words of different meanings is a barrier in communication. Another barrier would be different value systems. Okay. What you find important might lead you to speak and think in a certain way. And if the other person has different values, how can you guys meet in conversation? If one woman is speaking heavily on money as being the most important thing there is, and then you personally don't feel like money is the most important, you might think free time is the most important thing. So now as you discuss things, she don't get why you're so, why money isn't your big focus. She actually can't understand your point of view, or you can't understand her point of view because you feel like she's leaning too heavily on money. But honestly, you might be saying the same thing, because somebody who wants all the money wants to have control over their life and their time. You want all of the time and control over it, so you speak heavily on the time, but you don't, even though you need the money for that. So you're actually saying the same things in different ways, but having those different values and things of that nature can cause issues. That was just an example. There's other ways that different value systems can cause a barrier in your communication. Different perceptions of the problem. Similar, but I'll elaborate more, right? So if there's an issue that arises between you and your children, you and who you dealing with in a relationship or whatever, or friends, if y'all don't even have the same understanding of what the problem is, how then can you come up with a solution? Y'all don't even agree on the problem. Y'all don't agree where the problem started. How many of y'all been in a conversation or argument where one person is arguing a point, because you got pissed, and they don't get why you got pissed. They think you got pissed because of A, but I got pissed because of B. You know what I'm saying? You either ahead of me or behind me of where I actually got upset or where the problem lies. And you, on the other hand, thought the problem lied at a different point in the conversation or issue, whatever it was. So having a different perception of the problem or the lack of understanding, there's your barrier, there's your conflict. That's why you can't, effectively communicate. Emphasis on status. This happens a lot too. People put themselves in a position, instead of having a communication as equals or a conversation as equals, somebody will put themselves, in like a hierarchy where they feel like, because I'm the man, my word is the most important. Or a woman might think, well, because I have a master's degree and my husband never went to school, I have the final say, or whatever. You put yourself in this status, and you put yourself in, instead of being equal in this conversation, you try to put yourself above the next person. Or you having a discussion with somebody who doesn't wear Rolexes, so you think that they're beneath you, but they particularly like a whole different thing. Or they spend all their money on travel. You spend all your money on materials, they spend all their money on travel, but each of you think, looking at the other person like, this person should be listening to me. You put yourself in these roles and these, levels of status that make you dismiss the other person, makes you think that your word is bond, or your word is law, I should say, and there's an issue in the communication. You should communicate as equals, point by point, issue by issue, and it doesn't matter who's saying it, because you might be wrong, Mr. Billionaire. You might be wrong, Mrs. Highly Educated. Just because you would like to think that you have sway because of your experiences or your credentials does not mean you should not listen to the other person and have a decent fucking conversation. So let me say that. Another conflict of interest. And this is how I'm going to use this. It may not mean this, but this is what I'm going to use it for. When you're having a conversation with somebody and they know that agreeing with the facts or agreeing with the truth is contrary to their best interest, so now they won't even accept what's being said or accept the truth, because just to win an argument, or whatever, they'll try to, they know that agreeing with you is not in their best interest for the sake of this argument or conversation. So they just to say, you know what, I'm going to play fucking dumb before I let this person show me that I am incorrect, or this conversation leads heavily in their favor. So that's a conflict of interest to some person who doesn't want to look wrong. But we'll get into that in a second. Lack of acceptance of different viewpoints, feelings, or values. Now, this is a big problem. A lot of people do this too. Because you feel strongly about something, okay? And I'm a little guilty of this, because when I'm talking to somebody who disagrees with me, I'm okay with the disagreement, but I really want them to present evidence on why I'm wrong or why they think I'm wrong. And then when people can't, then I get real dismissive. I want you to be able to argue your point, especially if you differ from me. But if you can't, and you still got a nerve to disagree, but you don't even know why, I might disregard it. But I should get better at, accepting the different viewpoint. Not always needing to be proved right or wrong, and me not needing them to prove themselves right or wrong. If they simply have a different viewpoint and that's all they got, they don't know how they came to it, fuck it. You can have what you got. You have the right to that thought, opinion, and statement you make. So we don't accept each other's viewpoints. We don't even know what triggered their viewpoint, or what how did they come to the conclusion? A lot of factors play in the, into how somebody can come to their realizations or their truth. If they had a certain upbringing or background, they are convinced on what they feel. And because you had a completely different experience in life, you're convinced on how you feel. But you guys, instead of accepting each other for having different viewpoints, you will let this be a barrier in communication, might even cause an argument, or might even make it where you don't even like this person no more, simply because you didn't understand how they came to the conclusion they got. Why they chose to be a Republican or a Democrat, or why they thought that a social issue, the police was right when they did this, or this person was right when they did that. All these type of things happen, but you don't know the backgrounds. You don't know why, even racism, you don't know what would make somebody have a strong opinion about a group of people. Sometimes it has no value or weight. Sometimes they got so many fucked up experiences to speak on, and now you like, well, damn, I kind of get why they don't like XYZ, or I kind of get why they have a bias against XYZ. And we all guilty of these kind of things, but just not accepting other people's viewpoint, not realizing there's factors in play why somebody think and feel the way they feel. If y'all want to debate it out, have points and value, have some shit to bring to the table. Don't just say I believe this and then don't know why. That's annoying to a lot of intellectual people that would like to understand you and want to give you the benefit of the doubt and want to see if you have a point. Come with some fucking facts, you dig? Feelings of personal insecurities. This is a big one. Being afraid to look stupid. People's insecurities play heavily in a conversation. Some people don't feel smart. So if they're talking to somebody that's using too many big words, or trying to posture themselves as somebody who's highly educated or from a different background or a different culture, whatever, now all of a sudden they're insecure in the conversation to begin with. How can they effectively communicate when they already think they're out of their league, or they think that you might feel a certain way? They might be, again, with the racist point, they might think you a racist person because they're assuming because you're an older white guy from such and such that voted for this guy or that guy. They can't even have this conversation with you. Well, hold on. Well, I don't want to use that as an example. That's not the best example. But my real point about, the insecurity piece is, if you feel like you're discussing something with somebody, and even the way you look sometimes, you feel like I'm talking to a rich person. I know this person is wealthy, and I don't have the right clothes on, or they don't know who I am. This person might be famous. This person might be just an established businessman or woman, but they don't know who I am. So I want to have this conversation, but I feel like they're judging me. I feel like they're judging my attire. They're judging my haircut or whatever, or the car I pulled up in or whatever. Insecurities play a big part in how people communicate, And again, people are afraid to look stupid, so they will fight you tooth and nail, or argue with you, or get excited and emotional very quickly because they feel like you playing them, or whatever, So that's something to be, conscious of. Let me see what other shit I got on here. Poor communication, right? That's like a structural problem. It ain't that you don't have a point. It's that you're not good at structuring your words to deliver your point. So that will frustrate you and the person you're talking to, because you're just saying the same shit over and over, or you're saying the same shit in different ways, and it's still unclear, and I still don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So now you think someone's not trying to hear you or trying to understand, when you just have structural problems with the way you word things or the way you put shit together. That's poor communication, though. That's something that you could work on. You can get better at talking by reading. The more you read, the more words you got, the more vocabulary you got, the more you understand of other people, the more you see how people put together words for communication, and then you can mimic that. You feel me? That helped me speak better. I was ratchet and ghetto as a motherfucker and did not know how to speak very well. Still don't, but I've gotten a whole lot better based off of reading, and things like that. So your structural problems give you poor communication. Personal behavior, personalities, and attitudes. Personal behavior, personality, and attitudes. Listen, communication is more than just verbal. Okay? Let's start there. It's visual as well. So if I see a bad attitude because of your facial expressions, you're turning your face up, your posture, the whole, whatever you might be doing, that's communicating to me. It's communicating attitude, bad behavior. Yeah, dig? Your personality fucking sucks. There's people with bubbly personalities, but because they're not aware of how overwhelming they could be to people, they're hard to deal with. They seem like people are dismissing them. Not necessarily because they're not smart people or have good points, but they're over the top and hard to fucking listen to or deal with. So these are all communication issues. And these affect you with your children, with your coworkers, with your friends, and your relationships. It's funny how much we have to talk to people and how bad we are at it. So that's why I'm even doing this video. When I looked at these bullet points, it helped me have a better understanding of how many different, and there's far more, but how many different aspects there are to effective communication. For me to deliver, I actively have to be conscious of these things and try to make good points, try to not to be emotional, try to, really listen to people, not thinking in my head what I'm going to say next, but actually pay attention to what they're saying, retaining what they're saying, not judging them on a viewpoint, not allowing them their freedom and right to have their viewpoint and not feel, any kind of way about it. So, let's consider all the shit I'm saying, right? Again, personal behavior, personalities, bad attitudes, okay? Bad behavior, you want to get physical because somebody having a conversation with you. You want to throw shit. You want to, put gestures in somebody's face and get your own ass whooped because you don't know how to, your behavior is, you got a personal behavior problem. I'm trying to communicate with you, but you working real, close to an ass whooping. These things got to be thought about. It's a lot of people that got their ass whooped and afterwards say, what did I even do? I didn't even do nothing. You was unaware that your behavior was unbecoming of somebody who didn't want their ass whooped. People that don't want their ass whooped wouldn't have did none of that shit. So you got to be conscious of what you do and how you do it in communication. How close you get. Don't get in my motherfucking face with your point. You could better say it over there. You know what I mean? And we could discuss this. Role conflict. Pulled in several directions. I'm gonna spin this like this. Okay, pulled in several directions. I'm gonna use that part. A lot of people are. Kanye West would be a good example. Yay. He has, when he's talking, okay, he doesn't finish complete points before he's already trying to go somewhere else. In his mind, he understands everything he's saying. And each point might have value, but to the listener, you like, where was you going with that? I'm still waiting to find out, but now you taking me over here. You pulling everybody in different directions. Your idea of what you're supposed to be saying or your role in this conversation sometime too can affect how you deliver stuff. You might think you should be the most important voice in the room When in actuality, your role in this situation is to be a better listener. If I'm in a room with people that have a lot to teach me, I'm going to take the role of a listener over the role of a speaker, because I need to be hearing what's going on. I may have questions, but I shouldn't be over talking the most valuable information in the room, whoever it's coming from. So that's just a little points. I try to use that to make some points with. Okay. All right. These are a couple conflict resolutions. Okay. We talked about communication barriers. We talked about, poor communication and how these conflicts or just, how things can go left in talking with people and shit. Let's talk about the resolution real quick, and I'm gonna finish the video. All right. Competing. Stop competing. That's a conflict resolution. Stop competing. You're not here to win a competition. You're here to have a discussion. You're here to hear, listen, process, put out your own message, support your message. But that's it. No one needs to win this conversation. No one needs to win this disagreement. Even in a debate, when you say, well, there's supposed to be a winner in a debate, the people who's supposed to win from a debate are the people watching the fucking debate. The people listening to both sides. Not necessarily the debaters. Now, one debater can present information better. That don't mean he necessarily won. The winner is those that are listening to both sides being eloquently put on the forefront for people to process. So stop competing in these conversations. What else? Avoiding. Okay, initially with hostile personalities. Okay, avoidance is a way to help conflict resolution, because sometimes you can see shit coming, and instead of you avoiding it, instead of you deciding not to fight this fight or have this conversation with this hostile person or this touchy or emotional situation, you can avoid it. That's a resolution. That's how not to conflict or have issue. You can be like, you know what? This ain't the conversation to go. I'm not going to go there. I'm being asked a certain question, but I can tell by the hostility that even my answer, whether truthful, whether, even if it's, softly put, it's not a good idea for me to do this. I'm just going to avoid this. Or I'm going to avoid this type of person that I know doesn't listen well and wants to make it bigger and better than, it started to be. So you can avoid shit. That's a way to, have some conflict resolution. Mutual agreements. Try to find things that you do agree about. Always establish a point in the conversation or argument where you do agree, or you at least understand. Let a person know, repeat things that is being said to you, not in no hostile, slick way or passive aggressive way, but let the person know, I am listening to you. I do hear where you're coming from, and I heard what you said. Now, let me respond to that. We got to get away from saying, I heard you, but blah, 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 blah. When you but what I said, you dismiss what I said. You saying you heard me, but fuck that. This is what I feel. It's better to say, I hear you. And this, this is what you're saying. Is that correct? And they say, well, yeah, exactly. Or they can make, fix it if I got something wrong. And then I say, okay, let me respond. Okay, let me respond. That means I didn't dismiss what you said. I'm not saying, but fuck what you talking about. But here's what I got. No. May I respond to that? Or let me respond. And then I can say what I say. It just, those little tricks right there keep it from getting hostile. You dig? Well, that was the next bullet point. Basically, I think I jumped ahead a little bit, but compromising, middle ground, quick resolution. That's self-explanatory. Find the middle ground. Find where you do agree. Find where you can kind of, get some understanding of each other. And come quick to a resolution. And the resolution don't have to be we fixed our problem. The resolution can be we're not going to talk about this today. Or we're going to, we said what we needed to say. That's it. Stopping the conversation is a resolution because it's over. We resolved it. It's done. Even though you still feel a certain way and that person still feel a certain way, but it's done. We got out what we needed to get out. It's been resolved. Maybe that person, the other resolution is we don't need to talk anymore. We don't agree on much. I don't like how you think. You don't like how I think. Let's just avoid each other. That's a resolution. So those are that's all I got. I try to make something out of nothing because I was studying this for a reason. And I saw some of these things that I was like, that'd be good to talk about on the channel because it's not talked about. And I'm sure there's other things and other places you can find more resources to help you with communication or books you can read about communication. This is what I got for you. These are things that I agree or what I took from it, things that I'm trying to make sure that I can do better. And, and it's for a whole nother fucking reason. But I saw an opportunity. I'm like, that'll work in any situation. So even though this is more professional based, it works in personal relationships. So that's why I did this. Hope y'all like this video. Comment, subscribe to support the channel. Check the description. And there's ways that you can support and help. And I appreciate y'all. Peace.